Yeah. 901 Shelby Drive, look alive, look alive. Came up on this side, now they on the other side. Oh well, them dog, we gon' see how hard they ride. I get rested.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm your lead writer and host, Christian Fowler. With me, as always, is my co-host, former Memphis Tiger guard, Trey Draper. And we are back for this week's episode. First on the show, we will discuss Memphis' 59-22 win over Georgia State last Friday night. And then we'll do a little preview of this Saturday night's game against South Alabama.
We'll also preview the official visit of the four-star wing forward / guard, DJ Jeffries out of Olive Branch. He takes an official visit to the University of Memphis this weekend. We'll also have a big announcement coming from Christian. We'll also talk to Fairleigh High School head coach Gene Robinson, and we also, in our prep segment, preview two players of the week, and we'll also preview the game of the week, which is Fairleigh High School and Central High School. They played Friday night. They played tonight, actually, at 7 o'clock. So get out there and support those guys. And as promised, we have a special guest, head coach of South Fairleigh, Gene Robinson. He'll be with us, throughout the show this week. We're going to get into Georgia State a little bit. Christian, talk a little bit about Georgia State, versus Memphis, and, what you saw from that game and see, give us some ideas of what you think can happen for next week also.
So after the tough loss against Navy, obviously this past week was a great bounce back week. They had an opportunity to play Georgia State, a Sun Belt opponent, and really get a bounce back game, and they did just that. I mean, they came out and won 59-22. I think the biggest thing that I was looking for is to see Brady White get comfortable again. He had a rough game against Navy, but last Friday night against Georgia State, he threw for over 270 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Right.
So at home this year, he has about 650 yards and 10 touchdowns to no interceptions. So the quality of opponent hasn't been as good at home this year, obviously, but anytime you can throw up over 600 yards, 10 touchdowns, no interceptions, then you're doing something right. So for sure, with Brady White having a game like that, that's very impressive. And then, you can't talk about that game without talking about Darrell Henderson.
Right. Going into speaking about Darrell Henderson, as a Gene, you're a coach. You rely heavily on your running game. Right. Having a running back in the backfield that you can rely on. Like, how does that impact the football game? What do you think? How do you think that transpires to the game?
Man, just having a guy like that with speed, like Mr. Henderson, man, changes the game tremendously. You can run that ball, and then when they're not looking, you can throw the pass. And just like you said, protecting the ball at all costs, man, you give your team a chance to win. No turnovers. Quarterback's doing a great job with no turnovers, man, and he's putting it in the air a lot, man. But that running game is amazing right now. I was really excited for the hometown guy, Tony Pollard, man. I've coached against him when he was in high school at Melrose. I was coaching at Whitehaven, man, and I tell you, we had a Notre Dame corner on him. We had a guy in Navy on him, and we couldn't stop the kid. You know what I mean? So he's a blazer, man. I'm looking forward to him, man, playing on Sundays because he really can go.
And Coach, just going to the defense a little bit, Memphis has a guy on the outside in TJ Carter who is in his sophomore year now, and he's already, he's playing incredible again after a great freshman season. So from a guy that played corner in Memphis and then at North Carolina, what do you see from him? What kind of talent does TJ Carter have?
Man, a real baller. I had a chance to go check out the Tigers in the spring, and man, I was just amazed about how he's just a technician. You know what I mean? Of course, he's athletic. He gets after it. He was the #1 corner in Tennessee coming out of high school, and he's living up to the hype. You know what I mean? He really gets after it. He's fast, man. He's not scared to throw his head in there when the action comes. So, man, I'm a fan. You know what I mean? I am a fan, and he's been balling for us. The first week, pick 6. You just want playmakers like TJ out there on your field. And Memphis, they have one with them. Mm-hmm.
Staying on the defensive side of the ball, Coach, this defense right now ranks 9th in the nation in total yards allowed per game, and they're also the #2 passing defense in the nation right now. Now, obviously, with the teams they've played, those stats can be a little inflated, but nonetheless, you can only play who they put in front of you. So with those stats, they've obviously, they've been stingy on defense. But one thing we haven't seen as much this year is turnovers. I believe they've only forced 4 turnovers this year. But since 2016, with Chris Ball as the defensive coordinator, they're tied for 2nd in the nation with 64 forced turnovers. So is that just a matter of keep pushing, and those turnovers will come, or what do you think we'll see coming up this season with turnovers for that Tiger defense?
Well, with me, a huge stat, man, when I think Tiger ball is they have 19 consecutive games with a takeaway. That's huge, you know what I mean? With the offense that we have that's explosive and can get after it and can score at any moment, and you're playing 19 straight games with takeaways, that's big. I definitely think with the players that's out there on the field, takeaways will come more. You know what I mean? Like we talked about TJ Carter, who's a baller. The corner this week, what's his name?
Jackson. Which one?
Yeah, Tito.
Okay.
That was a big time play he made with that interception, man. And 9 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. You know what I mean? That was a big time play.
Absolutely.
So they continue to get after it on defense, man, and turn some of those sacks into strip fumbles. Continue to strip at that ball, and the ball is the issue. So with the offense not turning the ball over and the defense getting turnovers, man, the sky's the limit for you. Indeed. So we got guys who stingy with the ball and guys who really want to take it out.
Absolutely.
On the defensive side of the ball.
You know, Coach, we talked a little bit about, about your guy with the running game that you come from with Whitehaven and now at Fairleigh. And you guys rely heavily on your running game because, you have reliable guys that can make plays.
Right.
You know, so Darrell Henderson is a guy that obviously can make plays for the University of Memphis. You know, let's talk. I mean, he's obviously leading the nation in rushing. I mean, in yards per carry. I mean, he's a guy that you just can't rely on. You know, what do you talk a little bit about Darrell and, about the running game and what it means to the sport of football.
Well, he can make plays, but not only make plays, he can make them fast. Right. You know what I mean? So 14 carries, man, 200 plus yards is huge. Averaging 13 plus, come on now.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big time back. And leaning on him with that run game and that passing attack and not turning that rock over, man, I like the chances.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with that being said, personally, I think, and I said this earlier in the week that with the way that Henderson's played so far this season, he should be compared to Jonathan Taylor, obviously at Wisconsin, who's being considered for the Heisman. Darrell Henderson should be in that same conversation. But, I mean, he also should be considered with D'Angelo Williams. I know he's a Tiger great, and Darrell's only in his second full year as a starter, but the stuff he's doing is stuff that only D'Angelo Williams has done in Memphis. So, how do you guys feel about him?
Hold on. D'Angelo, I mean, woo, man. 13 seasons with the Panthers.
On Sunday.
Panthers and
the
Steelers.
You ready to compare right now?
On the college level.
Right now?
On the college level.
Okay.
Right now. Hold on. One thing I will say, I'm not ready to put him in the Heisman race yet, only because the Tigers aren't undefeated.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? If we go into later on in the year and there's only one loss, yes, and he's on the same track, yes, I believe he should be in the Heisman race. Now, another thing that I will say is the Tigers hadn't passed 400 rushing yards in a game since 1972.
And they got 410 this week.
So you may be going somewhere. Then I say nah.
So I take that from you, Coach. One thing I think Darrell is definitely on his way to becoming, but I think it's hard to compare players while they're still in their prime. Right. People like to talk about LeBron James and Michael Jordan. I don't think you can compare those two because LeBron James is still playing right now. And another thing about D'Angelo, he came to the University of Memphis when no one was watching Memphis football. I mean, not myself, not anybody that's watching us right now. And D'Angelo did that, roughly when no one really cared about Memphis, when it was not cool to go to the University of Memphis. And I think he sort of with his offensive line and with that Danny Wimprine and Maurice Avery, I was heavily involved in watching those guys. And I think, that's when we had 15, 20,000 people in the stands. So I think, you got to give D'Angelo credit because he helped build this program. And, I think Darrell is keeping this program relevant. But at the same time, me personally, I don't think you can compare the two right now. But definitely when, not taking anything away from Darrell, when his career is over, I think he could easily be considered a Tiger great.
So one more thing about that real quick. You guys said, he might need a little while longer. So if he's still leading the nation in rushing, and Memphis goes into that UCF game with only one loss, and they beat UCF, and he has a huge performance, where is he at as far as Heisman race at that point?
Yeah, I think he should be in the Heisman race.
I think he should be in the Heisman race just because he plays for the University. So I'm a Tiger. I believe him, so we're gonna run with that. And obviously, this week is a big week with South Alabama. And I'm gonna start it off with Coach. Coach, obviously, preparing for a conference game is obviously huge, but also preparing for a non-conference game. You got, how do you, as a head coach, what is something do you think Mike Norvell is telling his guys, going into a non-conference game, but definitely want to keep that momentum going, especially after winning so heavily versus Georgia State? What do you think Mike Norvell, what would you tell your guys, after coming off a conference loss, then going into a non-conference win and having another non-conference game? How do you keep that momentum rolling?
Well, I definitely think in now times it's a little different from high school ball to college ball, because now in college ball you want to try to make it into the playoffs. If not the playoffs, you want the best bowl game possible. You know what I mean? So you're preparing every week like it's a conference game, especially in Memphis' case when your schedule is not as tough as the SEC guys or wherever. So, yeah, right. Indeed. But definitely, man, you always want to ride off a big win and your confidence with that big win. And me, myself as a coach, anytime we win big or things like that, I go on film the next day, man, and grade them tough. You know what I mean? I just find areas to improve so we won't get complacent. So we won't think we arrived yet. You know what I mean? This beginning of the season, we have to get better in order to win our goals and make things happen.
So you talked a little bit about, coming out with that motivation for the game. The Tigers are favored by 31 points in this game. So obviously they're a huge favorite. So when you're favored by that much and you're expected to win this game, obviously, how do you come out and say, okay, let's put a wrap on this game early, get some guys some rest, and then go into our conference game next week? What's the motivation behind that?
Me personally, I don't think you can think like that. I've been in games, man, where we were picked to lose, we won. I mean, we were favorites. Lost, you know what I mean? So I don't listen to anything when you talk about favorites or
that's the coaching side of you, right?
The game has to be played. You know what I mean?
They play it for a reason.
Yeah, so I don't think coach is going in there saying we're favorites doing this, that, and the other. I think he's saying we have to play Memphis ball. We have to worry about us. You know what I mean? We never worry about the person across. We were worried about us. We wanted to be the best we can be on this day. So that's always the goal going into games, man. And we have enough talent on Memphis. And I'm saying we because I'm from Memphis. You know what I mean? So,
you're no Carolina guy, no doubt. But you're from Memphis.
But I'm definitely a Memphis fan because I'm from here and I love everything Memphis. But so we have the talent, man, to do great things. So I just think every week is a chance to get better. Every week is a chance to get better.
And that just shows, that gives, a decent amount of respect to the football program and to Gene because, us guys being from Memphis, then that's to our players. You guys represent what we stand for. When you guys get out there and play on national TV, you guys make us proud. And that's with the Memphis Grizzlies, the Memphis Redbirds, the Memphis Tigers, football, basketball, women's track, everything. We support you all. We support you all in this city.
So going back to the line on this game, did either one of you ever think you would see a point in time where Memphis football was favored by 31 points, no matter who the opponent was?
It's funny you say that, man. I just remember my freshman year in college, we had a Friday night game. We were playing VTech. I remember it like it was yesterday. The Tigers played on Thursday night, so obviously we were in the hotels and things. And Coach Bush Davis, called me down, and I'm like, did I do something wrong? So I get down, and he says, man, look at this. It's terrible. It was 2,000 fans in the stands. It was a rain game. It just wasn't good, man. So to see the program come from there to now, man, it's huge. You know what I mean? That's big, and I'm excited for it because they've made some key moves in order to lift that program from what it was in those dark times.
To answer your question, Chris, I'm a firm believer that the tables do turn eventually. I think if you keep on progressing and you put the right funding and the right money behind a certain program and you hire the right guys, I think eventually, I knew eventually that some was going to break for us because we were always, considered a basketball school. But now that football is rolling, and shout out to, Tom Bourne and, Justin Fuente who helped get this thing rolling, I knew the table was going to turn. I can't say when, but I definitely knew they would eventually turn in our favor. So to answer your question, I think so.
Next, we'll talk about the huge official visit coming up this weekend for the Memphis basketball program. Four-star Olive Branch High School forward DJ Jeffries will be in town this weekend. He'll make it in Friday. So obviously, Memphis having this official visit is huge. He'll go to Mississippi State next weekend for his official visit. And personally, I believe if he makes it out of that Mississippi State visit without a commitment, and then he comes to Memphis Madness October 4th, I think there's a very good chance he'll be a Memphis Tiger. So, what do you guys think about his visit this weekend?
Okay. Well, Me personally, and I want to talk to Coach first about this. Coach, you've been an athletic director. You take an official visit and a guy that signed with North Carolina. How big is an official visit? We talking about basketball and football, of course, but it's still an official visit. How big is it to get an official visit from a high school student athlete?
Oh man, to even get one is huge. You know what I mean? Because you only get 5. Well, in football, you only get 5. So you only get 5 official visits, man. So to even get one from that kid who's nationally recruited is huge. But the pressure's on. When you get there, you don't want them leaving campus without, hey, I want to come here. I want to be here. I just remember my time on my official visits. My whole family fell in love with North Carolina. That's why I went to North Carolina. You know what I mean? It was just, okay, let's go see what they're talking about. And then before we left, we let's go.
Right.
That's what we want to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it just give you a chance to get on campus, to see what the campus life is, to see the family atmosphere around the team, and to see if you gel with those guys. You know what I mean? But I pretty much think we'll be able to get them in, especially after October 4th.
And I think I'm with you, Cole. I think DJ's. I think he'll be a Tiger. I don't. Him going to Mississippi State doesn't really faze me at all. And that's and I'm being a little biased, but that doesn't faze me at all. I think he's coming here for a reason. He's coming to being an official. He's coming on officially to University of Memphis this weekend for a reason, and I think he's coming to the University of Memphis with guys he's familiar with. I mean, you talk about guys like Tyler Harris, Alex Lomax, Jeremiah Martin, Jaden Hardaway. These are guys that he's familiar. Ryan Boyce. These are guys that he's familiar with, that he's played. And I don't think we're giving enough credit to those guys because they're not going to let him leave the campus without committing to the University of Memphis. So I full-fledged in my heart believe that DJ Jeffries will be a Memphis Tiger.
So we got a big announcement to make for my co-host Trey Draper. I'm sure many of you guys saw it on Twitter, on Facebook, or on our message boards, or somewhere. It's been out all week. But he accepted the job to be a full-time assistant at IMG Academy, which was recently ranked as the #1 high school in the nation. So Trey, just talk a little bit about that. I know you're thankful for that, and that's an awesome opportunity for you.
Man, I'm fortunate. I've been as bittersweet. I've been all over the place emotionally. Like I said, I accepted the job 2 Fridays ago, but I wanted to make an official announcement, right now, because it wasn't in me to make an announcement. First, I thank God for the opportunity. I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for him, presented with the opportunity. My family, they've been there supporting me, but definitely my guys in Mitchell, man. If it wasn't for them, honestly, I say that wholeheartedly, if it wasn't for them, I would not be here. I wouldn't be in this position. The things that we did over there to win 95 games in 3 years, to win a state championship, and to go to the state twice is just something that's that's pretty much unheard of when I sit back and I really reflect on our time. IMG, man, it was just an opportunity, man. It was an opportunity that that I think about for myself, for my career, for my family. Like I said, recently ranked as the #1 high school basketball team in the country. I'm just thankful, man. I'm thankful to the city of Memphis. Honestly, to the city of Memphis, they've been supporting me. I'm thankful to you guys. Over our 5 episodes, I think we've accounted over 150,000 views. In just our little podcast that we've started. So I'm fortunate, man. I'm blessed to even be in this position.
Right. That's a great thing, man. I know I'm a guest on the show, but I'd like to ask a question, man. Spend some time talking to some young guys, some young coaches. I mean, you're a young coach. Came through the inner city ranks, man, went back to a school that you love, volunteer coach, man, you coach, man, you poured your heart in, making pennies, you know what I mean? It's not about the money, it's about the kids, it's about doing something you love.
Right.
And now you get presented with an opportunity like this. Just spend some time talking to the young guys around, someone who's young, who wants to get in coaching, who's looking at this podcast. What do they have to do, man? Tell them the importance of networking and things like that. You know what I mean?
This is, and it's so funny because, man, Gene and I have been knowing each other since we was in the 6th. He was in the 7th, I was in the 6th grade. His nickname was Trey, mine was Trey. He used to call me Lil Trey. We was at Colonial together. Man, for my advice to young guys is to network. Yes, we're in the sport and we're being competitive, but don't get caught up in that. Make it about the young men. You feel what I'm saying? Make it about the young men. Make it about the young women. Whoever you're coaching, make it about them. Get out here and try to do better for them. Because sometimes we as young coaches, we get caught up in the egotistical part of the thing. I got to get this win. At the same time, we forget about little Johnny or little Rico who has to go home and, you know, they don't have a dad at home in the inner city, you know, they're relying heavily on Coach Robinson, on Coach Draper. You know, that's something that I really think is important. You know, sometimes we get caught up in the wins and the losses, and man, I still love my guys to death, you know, and I know I've been around you and I watch your program, you love your guys to death, man. I think when you really genuinely love them, then God will take care of the rest of it. I think he'll take care of the rest of it, man, and he'll really bless you. And like I've always prayed, you know, and I prayed to God and I asked him, if I was to leave Mitchell High School, then make the opportunity a no-brainer. You know, make it a no-brainer for me. Make it a no-brainer to where I can, because I don't like to really make tough decisions, you know, at the moment, you know, because I had a family, you know, and I had the city of Memphis. But ask them to make this, you know, situation a no-brainer. And the opportunity to coach McDonald All-Americans like Jaden Springer, you know, he's a potential McDonald All-American, or Armando Baycott, Jeremiah Robinson Earl, Noah Farrakhan. You know, these are guys that's top 50 guys, man. And it was just an opportunity that I think could help build my platform for me to return to Memphis to help, you know, young coaches, because, you know, myself and Coach Robert, we talked about things all throughout the city, man, and we wanted to really help this city. You know, we'll get into more about that when we talk to Coach about his camp, you know, and how he turned things around in Fairly. So I think but you know, I know I went a little long, but my advice to these young coaches is just to network. You know, don't make it so much about yourself. You know, make it about those young men and those young women, and the rest of it's gonna take care of itself.
Right.
We love you, Trey.
Next, we'll talk to, of course, he's been with us. You know, we've had a special guest this whole show, but you know, we want to get into a little bit about his story and what he means to not only Fairly High School and the Whitehaven community, but what he means to the city of Memphis. Gene, let's talk. You know, first off, you know, you've like a role model to me. You know, you've been around. I've been around you since I was 10, 11 years old. We always kept in contact, so I admire exactly what you're doing. And you know, to do it in our city and do it in the inner city is huge. But my first question to you is, you know, talk to make the right call, the camp. You know, this is the 6th year, right? The 6th year of the camp. Going on the 7th year next summer. You know, talk a little bit about what make the right call is, and talk about, you know, what your mind frame was when starting the camp.
Man, you know what? So when I left Memphis and went to North Carolina, I was there with guys, man, that amazed me. It's like, man, these guys come from no parent homes, foster home. Now they graduated, they're teachers, they're businessmen, they're lawyers and things like that. And I'm like, man, what can I do in my city to get kids out? Because I never thought I was the best player on my team or anything like that. I prepared like I was, but it's guys who, when I went out to school, they didn't go to school. Right. They went to the streets. You know what I mean? So my biggest thing is, when I graduated school, man, was to come back, man, and help some other guys get to school. Because if you get to school, man, that opportunity, you see those opportunities ahead of you. It's like, man, what? I made it from Memphis to here.
Yes.
You know what I mean? No, and you're gonna have that grit that you learn here, growing up here, that you have to survive. Right. You're gonna take that up there with you and turn it into positive things, man. So my biggest thing when I got to college, man, I had to come back. I had to push it, and it helped that my guys, my roommates, all went to the NFL. It helped with that. So I just called them, man, come help me out, do a free camp here in Memphis, man. We threw the camp, and it was a big deal, and we was like, we have to do this every year. Right. So my guys from Carolina come here. You know, my guys from Memphis who I play with, they come back, you know what I mean? So it's a big thing. We bring the NFL guys in. We just do a free camp for the kids. You know, give them something to be passionate about, you know, give them something to love, give them something to work hard at it. And then this year, I mean, we grew it a little bit. We had an invite-only camp where we brought the top 150 athletes in the area, you know what I mean? So Horn Lake, Mississippi, all those guys, the Memphis guys, all the 150 guys, we brought them here. We did an elite only camp Saturday. Friday night we did the young kids from 6 to 14, you know. So it was, man, a lot of fun. Kids got after it. Then on top of that, man, like we talked about earlier, I want to help young coaches as well. I got the opportunity to coach. I went back to my high school. Coach was like, he wanted me to volunteer, man. It was cool. You know, I didn't even, at the time, didn't know I wanted to be a coach.
No doubt.
I
ain't cut you off, but Gene always talked to me, he wanted to be an athletic director. And the fact that you're doing both of those things and to see those things come into fruition is just, it's amazing. You know, it's amazing. And when you talk about the pro athletes, you know, you went to the University of North Carolina where you've seen pros, I mean, they come a dime a dozen, they're there, you know. So to bring those guys to our city, you know, you talk about Zach Brown, you talk about Anthony Miller, you talk about Marlon Brown, Terry Pope, Marcus Rucker. You know, these are guys, these just to name a few, these are all guys that have made an appearance at your camp, and that says a lot about the type of guy you are. You know, what is that, you know, speaking of, you know, being a former athlete and to be a young former athlete, and when you had a chance to see pros come in, you know, talk about, you know, how does all that work, man? Because it's something that the city of Memphis that we don't usually get, you know, so. You know, is that relationship? Is that just relationships?
It's definitely relationships. But I think those guys showing up at camp is huge for the kids because those guys are from Memphis, you know what I mean? Or if they're not from Memphis, they're from somewhere like Memphis. They're from single-parent households. You know, they can relate to the kids and they spend a lot of time talking to the kids. But a key component of that is not only the NFL players. I bring back guys like Charles Harris. You know what I mean? A guy who went to school for free. Now he turned that into his gig now at the University of Memphis. And he's doing great things. You know what I mean? He got his MBA, that type of deal. So when guys like that who use football for a free education can come back and talk and just explain how the game flipped.
Right.
Guys like, man, I never thought this game could do so much. You know what I mean? I just want them to continually hear, you can go to school for free. You can go to school for free. You can go to school for free. Despite what you think, you can go to school for free. So anytime you can bring it and put it in their face, man, they have a chance to really see it and really hone into it and really push forward. But another thing, like I said, I brought Coach Bowman here from UT Martin to do like a coaches convention because, like I said, I want to grow the game as a whole. So I want to grow the coaches. I want young coaches who want that opportunity to understand about how to get that opportunity. I want to talk to them about networking. I want to talk to them about all that because I think if we can continue to grow this game, we can cut down on the crime. You know what I mean? Because the kids of the ages who are doing the crime are
they're our babies.
Yeah, they're next up. You know what I mean? So anytime we get a chance, man, to just kind of play my little part, man, in cutting down the crime and growing the game at the same time and getting some kids in school.
So from starting the Make the Right Call camp to now being in your second season as the head coach at Fairleigh High School, you know, how has that journey been from you going from Memphis to North Carolina and now back to Memphis, and how rewarding is it to just be accepted back and to be loved in this community?
Man, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. Actually, was just talking to my dad last night. I was just, man, I'm walking in my purpose. You know what I mean? When I got to school, I realized I wanted to give back. I wasn't sure I wanted to coach. You know, me and Trey used to talk all the time, and I was like, I want to be in the admin part of everything. I want to be on the back, behind the scenes on things like that.
But now you're tapping into the lives. You're the direct reflect. I heard them call you, man. They love you. So, I mean, that's a testimony to you.
But, man, like Trey said earlier, man, I just love them hard. You know what I mean? I love them hard. I hold them accountable, you know, for their actions, man, and that's how we push each other. They push me every day, every night when I go home. I might want to go to sleep early, but I can't because I'm game planning for Central. You know what I mean? It's a big week. I got to stay up a little late. You know what I mean? You know, I got to have my lesson plans. I got to stay up. You know what I mean? Yeah.
But, you know, so a little bit about, you know, and, you know, like I said, we're young coaches. You know, I'm 26 and you're 27. You know, but both of us are young coaches that got opportunities at our alma maters first, but now we're able to go elsewhere and pro. So first we poured into our community, and you know, like I said, I've given my advice to these young coaches. You know, what's some advice to young coaches that you have personally that you want to, you know, give them and you want to talk to them about?
Right. So you said something earlier. You said your next gig, your next coaching gig, you wanted it to be a no-brainer. However, mine wasn't that easy. You know what I mean? I left a powerhouse to go to a 2-8 team. You know what I mean? On the back burner, and it was a little tough. You know what I mean? But the advice I would give a young coach is don't be scared, man. Don't be scared. If the opportunity presents itself and you feel like you really have what it takes, dig in, man, and dig deep. And I praise the Lord that I did.
Yes, you did, right. And that's something that I want to talk to you. You know, talk a little bit about, you know, rebuilding the program. rebuilding the program, because you took a program that had won 2 games the year before, and the next year, last year, you beat them.
Mm-hmm.
You went to the playoffs. You won. I think it was a
8-2.
8-2, right? It was a 6-game separation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you went to the playoff. Now this year, you guys are ranked top 10 in the city.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? So talk a little bit about rebuilding the program, because that's a testimony to your staff, to the leadership that you have, and also to your young men.
Right. So immediately when I got there, I realized we had talent. You know what I mean? We just had talent going in crazy different ways. You know what I mean? So we just had to align the culture to make the talent go the way I would like for it to go. And man, discipline was a big key. I had to let them know that, man, we're not gonna clown in class. We're not gonna clown on the field. You know what I mean? That's how it is. And although we made that flip, we still haven't made it to where we're going to go or reach our potential. We're far from our potential. I think we can do major things. You know what I mean? I'm pushing them, continuing to push them, because like I said, I really think we can do some major things.
And I think myself and Christian agree, you guys definitely headed in that direction.
Absolutely.
All right, Coach. So going into the game of the week, before we knew that you were going to be our other host this week, we had came up with the game of the week, and game of the week is none other than your Fairleigh Bulldogs going into Central High School, playing them at Central. That's our game of the week. Talk a little bit about not actually going to game plan, but definitely because that defense over at Central is definitely loaded. But you guys bring a very competitive defense and offense as well. Talk a little bit about some guys to watch, and also Central and your team as well.
Well, definitely, man. Our guys are really excited. Central Boost, Darren Turner, who's a LSU commit. So he's a receiver over there at Central and a defensive back. My DBs have been hype all week long because now they get an opportunity in front of a huge D1 guy. Terry Wilkins, our running back, man, he had 2 touchdowns last week in a big neighborhood rivalry. One from 45 and one from 56. Long runs, guy with speed who can really show his talents. So we were really excited, man, to get on the big stage and to prove our worth and to show the city that we're here and that we're not just a 2A team, you know what I mean? Because we're getting that stigma right now that we play little ball and this, that, and the other, but we want to show the city we can compete with the best of them.
I want to ask you about, you talked about Darren and Terry. Talk a little bit about, Kendrick Hightower and Travis Harper on the defensive line at Central, and your athlete, Kendrick Hightower. Give me, talk a little bit about those guys, because like I said, you obviously coach Kendrick and you watch a ton of film on Travis. Talk a little bit about those guys.
Right. So Kendrick Hightower, man, is a huge leader for us. He played defense all last year. We put the ball some in his hands for Wildcat. Well, in order to get him to school, this spring, we switched him all the way over to offense, man, and he did it just like that.
Wow.
Scrimmage this spring, he had 3 touchdowns, long runs, long catch, this, that, and the other. Took the word about Storm, ended up getting a couple of offers. Okay. So I'm excited about Hightower as well. He didn't have the showing he wanted to have against Whitehaven week 1, so like I said, we got a second chance, man, at a prove-it game. Okay. And we're excited about it. I think Hightower's going to excel, man. He's fast, and he's a go-getter. My principal, Mr. Bates over there, fairly said, Coach, he reminded me just like you, how you play the game so passionate, and he shows his personality on his field. Big Travis, man, he can get it, you know what I mean? So we have our hands full on O-line this week, one of the better D-lines we've faced. We're looking forward to it, and can't wait.
So the last thing about your game this week is you talked a little bit about how hype your guys have been and the energy that's been there. So when you get in that locker room Friday night, right before you get on the field against Central, how hype do you think that will be?
Well, I think I made the mistake week 1, so I like to learn from my mistakes, man. But I think I made the mistake week 1. I made it too emotional. You know what I mean? So I don't want to. I'm gonna calm them all the way down before we take the field this week.
Next, we'll do this week's Q&A segment. This week's question comes from Transit on the Go Tigers 247 board, and they asked, are there any football players who we should see much more of by season's end? I'll say my biggest guy would be Kenny Gainwell, the freshman running back out of Yazoo County, Mississippi. He came in at the end of the Georgia State game, and I think he had a 72-yard touchdown run, and that kid's unbelievable. Since the first day he stepped on campus at Memphis in fall camp, he was, he looked like a guy that should not be considered a freshman. Like he is legit. So I think the longer this season goes on, the more he'll be able to get involved. Obviously that's a tough backfield rotation to crack with the talent that they have back there. But if any freshman can do it, Kenny Gainwell is definitely a guy that can get back there.
Yeah, I would like to see Tony Pollard get more going. You know what I mean? Be the player he is and get that ball in the end zone. You know what I mean? So I would go with Tony Pollard just to see him get really rolling this year.
Watch him get some more returns too.
Yeah.
And my guy is someone that we hadn't seen much of in the last couple of years, and it's Sam Kraft. Sam Kraft is a guy that's battled a ton of injuries. I'm a little biased towards it because I know Sam personally, and I know how hard he worked to get back. And I'm just excited, man, for him, and I'm praying for him to get back on the field. Because I know that's his passion, that's his dream for a guy. He's a Memphis guy. He came to Memphis when it wasn't popular to come to Memphis. As Charles Harris said a few weeks back. So man, I think Sam Kraft is a guy that we should see eventually. We don't know when, but I think when we see Sam Kraft, his leadership and his toughness is gonna definitely bring some explosiveness to this already great Tiger offense. So Sam, man, we looking forward to seeing you get healthy, and we can't wait till you get back on that field.
So that's all we got for you on today's show. Thanks everyone again for watching. Thanks for Trey Draper for being on the first few weeks. So this will be his last episode. Obviously, super proud of him for getting that job at IMG, and very thankful for him being on the show with us. Also, shout out to Coach Gene Robinson for coming and sitting with us. I think he was a great guest. I think everybody's going to enjoy him for sure. And everybody go out and check out Fairleigh vs. Central on Friday night, and also get out Saturday night to check out South Alabama vs. Memphis at the Liberty Bowl.
Right. And last but not least, man, I just want to sincerely thank everybody that has been, Tiger Nation has been instrumental in my life. I can date back to 4 or 5 years ago when I was getting ready to have my eye surgery, and I didn't have the funding to cover that, and Tiger Nation came through for that, man. So I'm sincere. I think Tiger Nation is the best fan base in the country. Just because I'm heading down to IMG does not mean you all will not see me or hear from me again. I've always stated, that Memphis is my home, and I am Memphis. I am what Memphis stands for. So I definitely will return. I don't know in what capacity or when, but I definitely will return to the University of Memphis and the city of Memphis. And I'm excited, man. We did over 150,000 views, I think, in 5 episodes. So I'm forever grateful for you guys watching it. And last but not least, man, thank you. And like I said, get out and support these guys, man. The city of Memphis needs you. The university needs you, because you guys are, Memphis is what we stand for, and Memphis is our city. So thank you all, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Go Tigers.
901 Shelby Drive, look alive. Came up on this side, now they on the